Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. Let me ask you a question. And really, the answer doesn't have to do with whether you're an Indiana Fever fan or not. Or I should be more specific, a Caitlin Clark fan, because I know that there are people out there who will tell you that they are Caitlin Clark fans, not Indiana Fever fans. I personally am both, because Caitlin Clark is a member of Indiana Fever, and I'm a fan of all the players. But let's just focus in on Caitlin Clark here. Do you think that her second season, which is this 2025 season, is all for nothing? Do you feel that it's a bust, that it's just an absolute good for nothing season? Is that how you feel? This has been a tough few days for some people who are very upset that Caitlin is not returning and all the things that are attached to that. And obviously, listen, in the offseason, we were able to get a look at Caitlin in the gym because Indiana was really good with social media and allowed us to see some things. And so we saw her in the gym. We saw her on her birthday, for example, knocking down 3 after 3 after 3. And then Keith Porter came on board, and we got to see other players working out in the gym with him. So we've had quite a bit of access. We had access during the free after free agency when it was preseason, and we got to see the people who were trying to get a spot. We got to see a whole lot. And when you get to see a whole lot, you get really invested. And obviously, people were most invested in Caitlin and wanting to see what this second season would look like. It's sort of like second season loading. And there were all kinds of expectations. And then with the injury, I shouldn't even say and then with the injury, because really she sat out in the first game of the preseason and then played against Brazil. But it's been an injury-ridden season for the team. But again, we're just focusing on Caitlin. She's not returning this season. She just let us know that the other day. Some people hear that, think about that, and they say, what an absolute waste of a season for Caitlin. I want to know what you think. Do you feel that this was wasted time, that it was all for naught? What an absolute bust. Nothing good has come out of it for Caitlin. And you're just, as they say, broke, busted, and disgusted about it all. I'm going to get back to this and share with you my thoughts on it. But I'm going to take you first over to YouTube. Sue Bird's interview with Caitlin. When that interview came out, I encouraged everyone to watch it. I know some people were adamant about not watching it because they didn't want to watch Sue Bird. They didn't trust Sue Bird. And then there were people who said, I'm so glad I watched it, because my assessment was that I had never seen Caitlin as transparent as she was in that interview. And I mean, in its original intent, not the twisties that came out of it, because the twisties got on into that. But I'm talking about the legitimate, real, authentic comments in context that Caitlin gave. I felt like she was extremely transparent. I felt that Sue Bird did a really good job of asking questions and allowing Caitlin to speak and to elaborate. So if you haven't watched it, the link will be in the description of this video. And if you have watched it, even, I want you to watch this clip, and then we're going to come back to our conversation. Has this second season been an absolute bust and good for nothing for Caitlin Clark?
We've all seen you on the sideline, quote unquote, coaching. What do you think?
More so coaching the refs.
Yeah. What do you think you've learned from having to watch? Because it is a unique perspective, and you probably, I mean, you haven't had injury, so you haven't really had that type of perspective.
I think it like, and I was talking to Steph about this, like it's so much easier said than done. Like it gives you like good perspective for like, it's so easy to be like, oh, like why wouldn't you pass it there? Or like, why did you forget to set that screen? Or why didn't you cut? Or how did you not see this and that? Like, and obviously like when I'm in the game, I'm like, everything is happening so fast and I'm trying to watch so many different things. And like, it's so much easier to sit on the side and be like, oh, I saw this and I saw this and I saw this. Like, no, like when you're actually in like the heat of things, like the coaches give us so much grace. And like, as teammates, like you have to give your teammates grace too, of like, they're trying to manage so much and see so many different things at one time. And especially as a point guard, like you're trying to manage everything and calling the plays and running the correct stuff and getting everybody in the right position and whatever it is. So you don't always realize like with how fast the game's going. Like,
wait, so do you think you've learned more about and maybe have more understanding for your coaches?
For sure.
And their frustration?
For sure.
No, that's interesting.
I mean, I think just for everyone. Like,
yeah. No, that makes sense.
From all different perspectives.
Now, there was a reason I wanted to take you to that portion of her interview with Sue Bird, because it goes along with the question I'm asking. Is Caitlin's second season a bust and nothing good comes out of it? Sue Bird is asking about watching, because understand this, Caitlin Clark, unlike many other players, has not been a bench player. She's not been injured before. She's always right in the thick of things, always in the middle of things, with little short spurts maybe of coming out to get a breath and then coming back in. Like, she's carried teams. She's been the star of the team. She's been healthy. Thank God. It's been go, go, go. So Sue Bird asked that question. What's your perspective? Because you're watching. And Caitlin says, what she just told us, there's something that comes out of watching, even though you don't like it. There's something that comes out of watching that you don't get when you're on the floor. I've talked about this before. You heard Caitlin talk about it. You've heard her teammates talk about it, the coach talk about it, because it's true. There's something that you don't gain when you don't get a chance to step back. And so I'm going to give you my answer to the question. This season is absolutely not a bust for Caitlin, and therefore it's not a bust for the team, no matter how the season ends. This is not for naught. It's not all for nothing. The injury is unfortunate. No one wants anybody to be injured. We always want everybody to be well, to prosper, to be healthy. Like, win or lose, even if you're not a fan, win or lose, you don't want to see people get hurt, or you shouldn't want to see people get hurt. But when you hear me say that there is good that comes out of this, I'm telling you, as a person who has watched the game like all my life, who has coached the game, who has taught, I don't care if it is sports or if it's your job. If you're a surgeon and you get an opportunity to observe someone else and how they perform an operation, it's going to change your perspective, especially if you're getting to do it for some time. There's a reason when I was going to graduate school to become a teacher that before I even did student teaching, I had to do observations. I had to have a certain amount of hours where I would have to go into a classroom. I had to set it up ahead of time with the school and go into a classroom and just sit. I'm not involved in it. I'm just sitting. I'm watching. I'm learning. And in so doing, I'm learning the things that I want to make sure I do, but I'm also learning the things I want to make sure I don't do. There's something about a CEO of a company. When that CEO observes how someone else leads a meeting, for example, there's something that you will get from that you don't get when you're the one in charge all the time or in the thick of things. So when someone says, well, this is a blessing in disguise, we can either twist that to suggest that the person is saying we're glad she's hurt, which, come on. we can pretend we believe that that's what's being said, or we can understand that other things good will come out of things that you don't want to go through and you don't want anybody else to go through. But somebody said, when given lemons, you make lemonade. And yes, in Caitlin's injury, other people have learned that, you know what, I can do this. I can do this. Doesn't mean it's a good thing that happened to the other person. It just means that we're not going to waste it. Nothing gets wasted, right? All, if I may quote scripture, all things work together for good to them who love God and are called according to his purpose. There are things that work together. But in this case, I'm not even talking about the other people, because there were things, good things that came out of a bad situation. But for Caitlin as well, you hear what she's saying. As I'm watching, so many things happen. And I know, because I do live streams, and a lot of times you'll hear, why didn't we pass to this person? Why didn't we pass? Why are they leaving her? Why is she open and they're not passing her the ball? And for some of us, it's just an observation. For others, it's an agenda, it's a narrative, it's a conspiracy theory. It's they don't want to pass to the white girl, whatever the nonsense is that some people think. Caitlin is like, from watching, from playing even, you understand there's so much that goes on. But when you're watching, you're like, wow, I have to extend grace, and I have to extend grace to my teammates as well. Just as Sue kind of laughed and said, and the coaches too. Absolutely. It gives you a different perspective when you're able to watch. You don't want it to happen. You definitely don't want it to happen because you're injured. But if you are a student of the game, as we know Caitlin Clark is, I'm going to say what I've said before, and I'm saying it again because since I've said it before, she's announced that she's out for the whole season. But even during the time she was out, even if she had returned this season, I stand by what I had said. As I said before, she's going to come back. She's going to be better. She's going to be smarter. Her basketball IQ is already through the roof. It's going to be even higher than it was. And she's going to have even more grace for herself and her teammates. We know in college, she said, Caitlin was probably not in college an easy person to coach. And I say probably, it's more than probably, because I've heard her coaches say that with the good, you've got to take the other parts and then you've got to coach her, right? She talked about that in Sue Bird's podcast, that like Lisa Bluter didn't just like, oh, she's the star. Because I know there are fans who don't want like anybody to like say anything to her at all or correct her or anything. Like, how dare you? Caitlin's like, it's not like that. It wasn't like that. I'm learning and I'm growing. And she coached me. And we heard from Jan Jensen and Lisa Bluter before that they would have to talk to Caitlin about, okay, you got to have grace for your teammates, your body language. It tells them something and they're looking up to you. And so you got to have grace for that. And she has grown in that. It's a process, especially when you're highly competitive. So all I'm saying is this: the Caitlin Clark we saw, as good as it was in her first season, she's going to be even better because she's studying, she's watching. You see her with the notes. She's got notes. So for those who think this was an absolute bust, this was absolutely for nothing. Oh my goodness, what a huge nothing burger here. It ended up being nothing at all in this second season. I'm telling you, as a person who's been around the game, as a person who's coached the game, as a person who has taught students, where you could say, okay, watch how this is done. I'm going to model this for you, or watch other people function in this capacity. It grows you. It grows you. So nothing this season is wasted, in my opinion. It's only going to make her better. This will be, God willing, if she has the career she's capable of having, this season will be just, as they say, a blip on the radar, or however they say that. But I think it's a defining moment. And I think that she will at one point, and is already talking about it, she will be able to look to this moment and say, there was a time that was the time where I grew. As uncomfortable as it was, as much as I didn't like it, as frustrating as it was, as impatient as I felt, right there is when incredible growth and a deeper understanding and passion for the game transpired. And I believe she talked about that in this interview some more, but you need to watch it yourself. I know some people don't want to, but I think it's a really good interview to watch with an open mind, with your own mind, not through the lens of all the other noise out there. Good stuff, not wasted. The best is yet to come, I believe. So for now, I'm going to do what Caitlin is doing. I'm going to continue to do that. And that is also observe, also watch, also listen, also learn, and also cheer on the Indiana Fever. Those are my thoughts. You guys can chop it up in the comments. I will catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.